I go back to always that book, that Blue Ocean Strategy, talks about how you can take an existing business model, change a couple of pieces to the business model and make it a better business model. What I think about is like the Blockbusters. I think about like, hey, Blockbuster had a business model. Netflix took that same business model, took it on the cloud, and all of a sudden made it a much better.
That guy who, Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, tried to sell Netflix to Blockbuster twice. He tracked him down while he was skiing. He offered him Netflix for $50 million. He turned it down. That guy's like now doing a circuit as like a leadership expert. I'm like, bro, he made like, it was like the worst decision, like the biggest fumble in like history. Like, how's that possible? That he's like going around, they're like, hey, asking him what he thinks about stuff. I mean, I guess we all make mistakes, but I don't know. That's like a monstrous blunder. This is like a really high level, 30,000 of like the industry. I don't want you to get like overly lost in the minutia. I do think it's important for you to have a general understanding of what's happening. My job, right, is to do that, sit on top of the hill, pay attention to what's happening, and then disseminate information to agents to say, hey, this is how it may affect you, or here's how you may want to think about it, or here's how you could position yourself to get your unfair share, sort of thing, and try to figure out patterns and what's happening. At its core, though, I think what Jose led with is truth, which I'm like, hey, what'd you think about this? He's like, meh, I don't know. And I'm like, hey, what'd you think about this? He's like, I don't know. Like, I thought this, like, I'm just trying to sell like 150 homes this year. So at its core, the business is still the same. We prospect, we follow up, we're going to appointments and negotiate deals. Have to be in the presence of prospects on a regular basis. We have to increase our value. We need to focus on lead sources that have high densities, motivated, qualified sellers, like probates, like cash offer leads. We need to increase our product knowledge. We need to get better at pre-qual, like all of that, you will be fine. If you remember last year, do you remember when they changed the rules with commissions? Everybody thought like, oh man, the world's falling. And me and you did like all these talks on it and everything. And like, it didn't change anything. So as somebody who is very much so curious and fascinated by business and by our business, specifically real estate, I think it's important to have some level of attention, some level of, hey, what's going on? To see if structurally how we do business might change, because then maybe conversations change, maybe how we present changes. But I need everybody to know, like, again, the fundamentals are going to stay the same, and leaders don't panic, they pivot. Now, I do think that all of this disruption is going to be a massive opportunity for like attraction, because everybody's looking for certainty, everybody's looking for results. And as an industry, like I think we've gotten away with for a long time, like they've just outsourced everything, and we've gotten away with like mediocre, it's fueled by significance. That's the kind of currency. We put a ton of people on panels and they usually don't add a lot of value. It's not like really like, tactical and practical brass tacks. And people are looking for that in a major way, not only because of the disruption, but because of what's happening in just like in general, where we go from 6.5 million to 3.9 million transactions, and that persists for like 3 years in a row. People need tactics, bro.
I think that the tactics revolve around, one, how to generate leads or how to get leads of sellers, not buyers. Yep. Two, how to convert those leads, meaning like what to say, how to say it. And then three, how to service the leads, meaning like once you actually get a contract signed, how do you get it to the finish line? Meaning like price reductions, weekly updates, negotiating an offer on it, negotiating requests for repairs, appraisals, whatever it may be. But that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to like, okay, how do I generate more leads? It's funny. One of our agents generated a lead. It was a reverse mortgage. And the person told them, look, you don't need to talk to me. You need to talk to the reverse mortgage company.
Yeah.
And when he came to me with that, I'm like, well, look, the reason he's telling you that is probably there's more money owed than what the property is worth. So what the agent said, it's too complicated for me. He said, you take over. So I basically gave me the lead. I basically realized I wasn't talking to the decision maker. So I basically said, who's the decision maker? Forewarned the number, and then basically talked to the decision maker, which was the trustee. Asked her if she would be open to short selling it versus doing a deed in lieu of foreclosure, meaning giving it back to the bank. She said yes. Yesterday, we signed up the listing at a great price. Now we're just going to service it and get it to the finish line. But it was like, okay, he made that lead cold calling. The conversion part, that's where most people have challenges in. And then it was a servicing part. But that's right. Generating the lead is pretty easy. It's more of like, okay, how do I learn these different things? And the agent's newer, so he had no idea what a short sale was because he wasn't in the market in 2008, 9, 10, 11, or 12 where those were a lot more common, you know?
Most people think that their problem is like leads and like, oh, where do I find them? It's like, nah, dude,
No,
it's
that's
actually
the
not the issue.
easiest part.
The issue is conversion. And that has to do with specifically like being very competent and scripted and professional in terms of knowing what to say and how to say it, how to ask questions, how to pre-qualify at a high level. And then when you tack on this additional information, because what I find fascinating, dude, like most agents, even really productive ones, bro, that list a lot of properties, they just stop learning about real estate. They just know how to list property. I mean, I did that. I just list property in high volume. You know what I mean? Like pound them out. And it's just listing. The marketplace is demanding not only that we add more value, but also that you be able to convert leads better. And the way that you can do that is with product knowledge. So understanding, like you said, like a short sale situation and how to navigate that, understanding novations, understanding wholesale, understanding performance.
How investors make offer,
how investors make offers, cash offer leads. Like these all help you to convert on leads that are sitting right in front of you, or sub 2 deals where like 3 agents will meet with them and be like, I can't help you. And then you'll go in and be like, oh yeah, that's what this is. Like, so if there was a way that, you could get a little bit of money, the other person gets like the interest rate that they want, and we can get you to your next destination versus you having to like give this back to the bank. Is that something you'd be open to? Well, yeah, that'd be fantastic. And then you do the deal and you make money and the buyer gets the rate that they want and everybody's happy.
I'm making $1,000 a month on a subject to deal where I finance my commission into the
Let's
deal.
go, bro.
So every month I receive.
Look at that level of like creativeness. You know what I'm saying? Financed your commission. Not only were you able to put the sub 2 deal together, but then you're like, you know what? He's like, yeah, dude, I can't pay you all at once. It's like, no problem. We'll just put it on a payment plan. It's okay to stay informed. Don't obsess about it. We'll be studying it. We'll be paying attention to it. We'll be monitoring it to see if there's any patterns that we can take advantage of, any opportunities that become available as a result. And in the meantime, in between time, though, just stay dialed in, man. Stay focused.
And this is the way I think about product knowledge. It was interesting because when I was learning sales, obviously, but then I was like, you have to learn product knowledge. I think about it like, let's say you go into a dealership, Novello, and you tell them, hey, I'm looking for a car that has around 400 horsepower. I'm looking for a car that has like a navigation. I'm looking for a car that is a convertible. And they come to you with all these wants and needs. And if you have no product knowledge, you can't say, oh, that's the Camaro, or hey, that's the Corvette, or hey, look, that's the Mustang. Not only that, but product knowledge goes out further. Product knowledge goes out like when a consumer comes to you, they may come to you where, look, I'm actually considering like a Mustang, but I'm also considering a Camaro. That comes out to like, okay, just knowledge about like cars in general. So like a lot of times when consumers come to us, they're considering different options. They're not only considering the listing route, they're maybe considering like open door. They may be considering like a cash offer from an investor. That's where understanding what options consumers have will help you. Like, so if somebody came to me and I was selling cars, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm actually considering the Mustang over the Camaro. First thing I would say is I would say, because I own a Camaro, I would say, do they make the Mustangs for men?
That's too funny, bro. That's good.
I'm just kidding. I would say something along the lines like I would know what features and benefits the Mustang has and how it compares to the Camaro, basically. Like horsepower, like reputation, durability, performance, things that people would want to know, and that's the same thing. Like right now in our market, there's these companies, bro, and it's actually a pretty decent business model. There's these companies that are doing options with homeowners, offering up a sum for an opportunity to buy a portion of their equity, and they're doing it in California.
Interesting.
But so what I did, because it's come up on conversations, bro, maybe like 10 to 20 different times.
Really? So it's enough.
In conversations with leads. So every time I'm talking to somebody, like, oh, I'm considering one of these equity companies. And the first time it happened, the person actually did it. So I'm like, okay, that was a deal that would normally go out to either the cash buyer, or go out to a lender, go out to a realtor, or go out to something else. And then it happened like second or 3 times. So after that, I'm like, okay, so now when people are considering that, I'm like, hey, look, let me help you evaluate this option and let me give you some input. Here's what I would need from you. So I would need samples of their contracts. I would need samples of any marketing material that they're giving you. And I had that information. I started to analyze it. But all I'm doing is I'm realizing a product that's in the marketplace and I'm learning about it just to see the pros and cons. And then it's going to be a fit for certain people, but then for other people, it's not going to be a certain fit at all. So what's happening is that I have a client who has a call with them on Wednesday, like a sales call, and I'm going to sit in on that call and just kind of listen in and make notes and ask questions. But what that's going to do, it's the same thing that happened when Open Door came out and agents were getting beat out by Open Door.
Yeah.
I just basically learned about Open Door, learned how they work, and then I was able to realize, like, okay, like in what situations is Open Door the best option?
Most people's mindset is like, let me just poo-poo it and knock it down and be like stupid and dumb. When I know you've done deals with Open Door and got commissions, where like they'll pay 1% if you bring them like if you get their cash offer kind of.
And it's probably the same thing with these companies. They're probably going to come up with at some point, they're going to realize like, oh, like agents are the ones that talk to all the people. Let me come up with a business model where I can compensate agents or have agents benefit.
And have you studied it? So like, in other words, like
very briefly.
So they'll give you like what, like $10,000 in exchange for 5% of your equity?
So the way that it works is they'll give you like a lump sum, usually like somewhere between $50,000 to maybe $200,000. And then I believe that they structure it as option. But what they do is they appraise your property and then they basically say the baseline is like 200,000 below that. So their option. So basically, the way
they're buying an option to buy the property, they're
buy the property, and you reserve the option back to rebuy the property in the future. But the way I looked at it is in the first 2 years, they make okay money. But after the second year, they're earning 20% on their money, basically. And then after 4 to 5 years, they're doubling their money. So whatever they invest, like after $100,000, in 4 or 5 years, it turns into $200,000. I don't understand it fully, and I haven't like looked at the.
And is there a time frame attached to their option?
10-year option, basically.
But at any
10-year
time,
option,
10 years, they can buy it.
10-year option with the option to no, they can't buy it anytime. You have to do something within 10 years.
Oh, so within 10 years, you have to
basically refinance them out, cash them out, or sell the property, basically.
But in exchange for the money that they're giving, they get a certain percentage of, they get some sort of return.
Oh, 100%. The other thing is that there's usury laws in California. I don't know if in the rest of the country, where you can't charge more than a certain percentage for owner-occupied people, and you can't give hard money loans to owner-occupied people. But this is almost like a workaround, basically, around the loans, where they're able to earn 20% on their money on owner-occupied people by structuring it differently. I sent it to an attorney and I said, hey, look, there's this company I want to do something like this because they're earning 20%. The attorney's like, I have no idea how they're doing it. So now I'm collecting all the documents to figure out how they're doing it.
I love that. Collect all the documents, sit on the call, and then we'll talk about it. But I know that there was a company that they were doing something similar, but it was an option
to buy commissions.
Yeah, well, like they were going around Florida. They would give somebody like $500 cash, but then they put themselves on the lien. They put a lien against the property. So whenever you sold the property, you had to pay them 6% or whatever it was, 6%. Now they got sued for like hundreds, like it was a big thing and they lost. So it sounds like, to your point, there's all this equity trapped. People have had such a hard time, financially. We've had the highest credit card debt, highest student loan debt. We've had lots of inflation, highest levels of educational debt. And instead of going to the bank and like doing a HELOC or whatever, they don't have to do anything. They'll get the money because they really need it. But then on the back end, they have to do something within 10 years. And what's happening over time, the longer that they wait to do it, the more percentage that they're paying for the money, correct?
Well, a lot of times what this product is good for, people that I'm noticing, because I always notice patterns of who like the avatar is.
Yeah.
The person is exploring like private loans or like a home equity line of credit, but then you have monthly payments and it goes on your credit report. If you do that option, they're considering the option of cashing out. They're considering the option of listing it. The benefit of this option is that they get to stay in their home. So a lot of times it's basically a way for somebody to stay in their home with no additional monthly payments. And they're either using that money to consolidate debt
or just pay bills.
Or pay bills, basically.
Yeah. So Chris says here,
or fix up the property.
He was like, yo, this reminds me of a We Finance All credit car dealership, because the whole thing is you get a lump sum upfront and no monthly payments.
Yeah, it's HomeTap is one of them. There's another company called Point. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm basically collecting all the documents and all the contracts for these
Awesome.
companies. I'm figuring out how they work, and then now that just becomes another tool in our tool belt, basically. But that's how my
and
brain
or it's
thinks,
either a tool in the tool belt that you can guide, or you can say to people, "Hey, I wouldn't do that, and here's why."
Well, and here's the interesting thing. I actually have 2 clients right now that are selling their property because they're like, "Look, dude, I'm already like at year 5 and all my equities
Oh, they
being
did it already.
washed." Yeah, they did it like way before I met them, like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm noticing it more frequently now where it's becoming more popular, but that's even but I have to understand in order for me to sell against something, if something's really not beneficial,
Yeah, I have to understand.
I have to understand it how it works to be able to guide
But it
people in the
sounds
right
like, to your
direction.
point, like they give you the money. It's tied to your equity. They do an appraisal to make sure that you have equity. Then they give you the money based on a really big margin of safety, like $200,000 below fair market value. They'll give you whatever based on that. The beginning, like that first year, you don't feel anything. So it feels like, oh, this is cool. Like I just got all the money, like whatever, we're good. But then as time progresses, you're paying 20% on the money that they gave you up until 10 years.
Well, in yeah, exactly. So in the first, because I ran it by Chat GPT and I said, hey, look, like do a chart for me under different scenarios because it's kind of complex, bro.
It
Like,
is. Well, this sounds like an advanced, like kind of Wall Street, like complex tactic. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Structure.
yeah. And what I saw was that in the first 2 years, it's okay. It's not uh, like absorbent by any amount. But what I'm noticing is a lot of people's plan is like, oh, I'll just pay it off in 2 years. But then what happens, bro? Life gets in the way, and then they realize like, okay, I can't refinance. So because they can't refinance, or it makes it more complex to refinance, it makes it so that they're in year 5, 6, 7. So eventually they have to sell the property. Basically, they're almost better off cashing out and then starting somewhere fresh, maybe like
100%. But what
downsizing.
it's playing against is the human
They want to stay in
desire to not move.
to not move. Yeah, 100%.
So they're in a situation, like their prime kind of person for that is they're in a situation where financially the writing's on the wall, that it's no
Denial.
longer financially feasible. Like the probability of them being able to maintain their lifestyle or living situation financially is low. They are in denial about that. This seems like a solution to that, but it actually speeds up the process of them leaving, and they just leave with less.
Yeah.
That's bummy, bro.
There's a lot of equity.
They lose a ton of
But
equity.
the sad part is people are still, I'm watching people like right before my eyes being like, look, like, I'm going to do it. And I'm just like, they're just like, I'll just refinance in 2 years or I'll basically cash out in 2 years. And I'm just like, man, like,
That's operating under the assumption that rates will be down, like all that. You know what I mean? Like,
there's so many uncertainties.
well, you know what's great, bro, is that the beautiful people of Oxnard have you to do all that homework. And as we share this with people, if you're in his marketplace, do likewise so you can equip your clients. And this is a perfect example of what we're talking about, guys. Look, there's no shortage of opportunities. You're one relationship away from finding them. You just have to keep equipping yourself with all the changes that are happening. I know it can seem like a lot. I wouldn't spend too much time thinking about it. We just talked about it today because it was kind of top of mind, and perhaps a little bit of information is good. My job is to monitor, pay attention, look for kind of patterns, look for opportunities, for any of the agents that are out there that, are going to hear this message or in our ecosystem in some form or fashion. But in the meantime, in between time, recognize that most things won't affect your business in a meaningful way. And the thing that will affect your business in the most meaningful way is to continue to make yourself more valuable, continue to get in proximity to people that can bring out the best in you, that can challenge you, that can hold you accountable, get into a community of like-minded, hard-charging individuals that can, show you where the opportunities are and equip you with the skills that you need to be able to take advantage of them. And if you do that, you will do more deals independent of market conditions. So we appreciate you guys. Let's go, let's grow, and we'll talk soon. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Later.
If you look at the evolution of models, in the real estate space. It used to be mom and pops. Then these franchises came out and then they exploded. And then that was for like a while. There was like a heyday, but the problem was it went from 50-50 splits and that shrunk because then they went to like capping mechanisms that came out and, it started to shift, right? And then you have the KWs of the world and they explode because they have a capping mechanism and they offer like a little bit of profit share, which is much different than revenue sharing. And then you have the cloud-based model that comes out, which solves for the problem of staff and space. So I believe what you're witnessing happening with all of these changes, there's two things. One is there's structural changes to the way we transact. That'll be who has access to data, when they have access to it, MLS systems, the whole thing with Compass, Clear Co-op, like that whole thing.